Happy July 3rd, everybody. One more day till 4th of July. I don't know about where you're at, but where I'm at, they start shooting off fireworks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Not that you can see any of them, but they're shooting them off. All right. Happy birthday to Tom Cruise today. He turned 63. I don't know, does that make him eligible for Social Security? All right. Also, today is National Fried Clam Day and International Plastic Bag Free Day, which if we'd have just kept the paper bags, we wouldn't have to worry about being plastic bag free day, huh? All right, on with some facts. Today, back in 1863, was the end of the Battle of Gettysburg. This was between the North and the South. The blue and the gray only lasted 3 days, but estimates are we lost up to 51,000 men. And the defeat was the beginning of the end of the Confederate downfall. It was all downhill for them after that. All right, then back in 1775, General George Washington took command of the Continental Army and did a pretty good job against the English, I guess. 1890, Idaho becomes our 43rd state. Back in 1971, Jim Morrison of the Doors dies of heart failure in Paris, France, at the age of 27. 1985, we released Back to the Future. Remember that one? Who was that within her? In 1928, Scotsman John Logie Baird demonstrated a color TV transmission in London for the first time. 1928. I don't think we started getting it out to the public till 19, I don't know, 65, 68, something like that. Took them almost 40 years to be able to get the technology to be able to make it cheap enough for the public to be able to afford it, I guess. In 1969, the Soviet N-1 rocket exploded during launch, causing the largest rocket explosion in history. I thought we beat that, but I guess not. In 1608, French explorer Samuel de Champlain founded Quebec City in Canada, and that is why they still speak French there, I guess. In 1819, the first bank in the United States opened in New York City. It was called the Bank of Savings. Right now, I got some interesting facts for you on butter. Some buttery facts. The first batch of butter was probably made by accident by the nomads who would often travel with milk in bags tied around their horses' necks. And with all the bouncing and swaying and churning, it churned up the milk into butter, probably. Somebody assumed that. Today's butter is mostly made from cow's milk. When way back then, they used to make it from whatever animal they had available at the time, which were either goats, sheep, yaks, cows. Uh, During the 11th century, Norwegians had to pay the king a bucket of butter per year as a tax. That's how important they thought that the king thought butter was. But yet in the Middle Ages, it was considered food for the poor. And the Romans thought olive oil was a much better choice than butter, but they used butter to spread as a uh, medical thing to help with their skin and so forth. And butter once was a seasonal food, only available in March through April. No, you knucklehead. March through September, when cows had fresh, lush vegetation to chew on. Then they finally figured out, well, we can do it anytime. And butter is so rich that the Catholic Church believes that it can lead to sin. So, did you know? I didn't know that butter is banned during Lent by the Catholic Church. I never heard that one before. India is the largest producer of butter, 7.6 million tons a year. That's a lot of butter. I believe that's because the Indians hold the cow so sacred that there's a lot of them there. But New Zealanders consume the most butter at 13.6 pounds per year per person. And to end it all up, Canada and Poland have national reserve of butter to manage during the times when it's short. All right, for the joke of the day, story of the day, whatever you want to call it. There's two young gentlemen that got arrested for smoking pot in public. Can you believe that? Well, they went before the judge, and the judge says, "You seem like two nice young men. I'd like to give you a second chance instead of jail. I want you to go out this week and try to convince others of the evil of drug use. I'll see you back in court on Monday." On Monday, the judge asked the first guy, "How'd you do over the weekend?" He said, "Well, Your Honor, I persuaded I persuaded 17 people to give up drugs for people." Yeah, forever. 17? Well, that's wonderful. How did you do it? He said, "I used a diagram. It had a big circle and a small circle." He said, "The big circle is your brain on before drugs. The small circle is your brain after drugs." The judge says, "That's admirable." Then he turns to the second guy and says, "Well, how did you do?" He says, "Well, Your Honor, I did a little bit better than that." He said, "I persuaded 156 people to give up drugs forever." He said, 156? How did you manage that? He said, "Well, I used a similar diagram." The guy says, "I drew two circles, one this big and one this big." He said, "This one is your asshole before jail, and this one is..." All right, like it or not, that's just the way it is. Uh, Hope everybody's preparing for a good fourth. Stay out of trouble, be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow on the fun facts of the fourth. I'm sure there'll be plenty of them. Peace out.